walked onto the land, I saw a gigantic. It was several times the size of Solar Man. I was about to fly up and attack it when it opened its mouth and let out a huge blast of fire. I had to fly to dodge the flames and then get close enough to the boss to fire a heat beam at its face, causing it to stumble backwards. If it didn't stumble backwards, I would have kept moving left until it forced Solar Man into the lava, as there was no more ground within reach. The beast had to wait unbeaten uses of its fire breath, as it seemed to cost a great deal of energy. I used this time to attack it, but fire wasn't its only weapon, and I had to worry of the monster swatting at me with its clawed hands. As its health decreased, it moved faster, and the battle felt like a tug of war between the two monsters over this bridge of land. After about 40 hits, it was defeated, tumbling backwards into the lava from whence it came. And then the final stage had been complete. At last, it was down to two bosses, and the final encounter with the Hell Beast. For some reason, I thought Gribber would be easier to beat, so I confronted him first. The classic Gribber battle music from the original started up as I was faced against the new King Gritter. King Gritter was as powerful as unreleasing as ever. He instantly lashed out with gravity beams, which were more damaging than Godzilla's heat beam. It became a struggle of constantly beating Gritter at every opportunity to keep him from using the attack. But Gritter soon saw through my tactic and started using physical attacks as well. He would strike with each of his necks, knocking me backwards and making it impossible to get close enough to punch him. But I had an idea to wait for him to lunge with his heads and immediately blast it with his heat beam. It worked, and to my surprise, the heat beam had actually burned Gorilla's middle head. It was only a few seconds before I realized what this would lead to, and sure enough, King Gorilla was using the power of the glitch to transform into Mecha King Gorilla. But what really shocked me was the sudden change in music. I had heard it before, but it wasn't from the original NES game. It was from the game Super Godzilla during the Mecha King Gorilla fight. Mecha King Gorilla's first attack was its most deadly, the machine hand, very similar to Gunner's saw. It mobilizes the monster and rapidly drains the health bar. Fortunately, before Gorilla could do a lot of damage, the timer ran out. I would need to defeat Mecha King Gorilla quickly to prevent him from using his machine hand, so I sent Solar Man to fight him. The two monsters were eventually matched in strength. But Solar Man was faster, and by slashing and heat beaming without pause, the cyborg monster soon met its end. With Gorilla defeated, I was returned to the board. I now outnumbered the enemy by 4 monsters to 1, and victory seemed to be soon at hand. The base icon had changed to a blood red color. I could feel a hatred emerging from it. I started the fight against Dissonant with August, and the music was the same as Gorilla's. When the fight began, Dissonant was in microscopic form. After one hit, it changed into Juva, which had few attacks and was also dealt with easily. The fight became serious once Destrunner entered the Anguish form, gaining the use of larger arms and the microscopic oxygen beam. Aga's full attack which had been very useful up until now, was rendered useless by Godzilla constantly attacking me with his large arms when I tried to use it. For this part of the fight, I had to rely on brute strength. Just before the time ran out, Destroyer had changed into his flying form, which Angus was ill-suited to fight against. Going back in, I fought against the flying form with Martha, which seemed fitting. The Martha was weaker than Angus, but was much better equipped to dodge and counter flying Destroyer's attacks, so the fight was in my favor. However, the Mecha Grunner fight music started playing, and Destroyer changed into the final form sooner than expected, with successfully turning the tables. Martha's attacks were doing very little to Destroyer, and I had to move furiously to avoid damage while waiting for the timer to run out. Even though it would be near impossible to beat Destroyer with Martha, I still had 3 other monsters. Final form Destroyer was very resistant to taking damage, and the heavily armored foe would not be defeated without a long fight. In the last part of the fight, I wasn't using much strategy, just attacking as brutally as fast as I could. On its last bar of health, Destroyer tried one last counterattack, a beam of energy from its chest. I don't know how powerful it would have been, because just before it could fire, I punched Destroyer in the chest cavity, destroying him. And that was it. The last Kudu boss was gone. In the midst of all excitement, I had briefly forgotten that there was still one last thing to do before the game would be over. Seeing the icon again hit like a ton of bricks, and I froze for a few minutes. I had come back so far to get to this point, but I was terrified. I really did not want to know what the last encounter was going to be like. Before I could let myself think about it any longer, I moved Godzilla over and began the stage. You're here now. This is the end. Just one last thing, and then it's all over. And when the screen changed, there was nothing. Just Godzilla and a black screen. I walked back and forth, fired a heat beam. Nothing happened until I heard the faint sound of a familiar drum beat. So, that's it for this chapter. Tune in next time. It's like a TV show. Tune in next time. See what happens.